What do you all know about death? I am deaf. I shit on you all. Okay, well that was my customary introduction to Hugh Screwer's ADSOM training. This is lesson number 3, and that was my customary introduction with my portrayal of the brilliant portrayal by the actor Tom Berenger in Oliver Stone's Oscar award-winning film Platoon, featuring Tom Berenger as Sergeant Bob Barnes and William Dafoe as Sergeant Elias. This is lesson number 3, and today we're going to revise lessons number 1 and lessons number 2. So we'll just start out as a reminder to everybody. My name, of course, as you know, is Hugh Screwer. I work here at this training institute, which is known as the School of Underhand Conniving, Knacks and Backstabbery, which is abbreviated, of course, to SUCK, with, if you like, acronyms, of course, is, you can call it SUCK. So I'm Hugh Screwer, and I do the training in how to become an ADSOM, which again is an acronym, ADSOM. And as I went through in lesson number 2, ADSOM, this is lesson number 3 of how to become an ADSOM, and ADSOM is how to become an absolute dickhead supervisor or manager at ADSOM. And as I've told every student who's been through this training course, you don't get to graduate from this training. You don't get to get out of here until you've totally convinced me that you're an ADSOM. And thanks to everybody who's come back. It's good to see that everybody's back from lessons number 1, lessons number 2. Mr. Maverick up in the back, my left hand corner. Very quiet, very judicious, so I don't usually have to mention old 55 up in the back middle there. Quiet as usual. Sorry, I was looking for an echo. Very quiet as usual, which is that's fine by me, old 55. We've got Tears for Fears, who has some good input from time to time over here on my right, centre right. In the centre we've got Father Brown back, of course, very very intelligent, analytical looking Father Brown with the glasses on. We've got over here on the front left, William Shakespeare, who looks like he's just had a, very sharp sort of haircut and beard trim. Good on you, William. And last but not least, of course, one of my favourites, the funny hat on, of course, Spin Doctors. Good to see you all back. And I'm pleased for those 2 have taken up the option of the interactive online training as well, but I do stress for those who want to do the training, I would recommend doing the face-to-face training. Mr. Maverick up the back, I'm certain, would attest to that. And look, most people who have been through this training, they've all said that you're not just you until you've been trained by you, which is me, of course. So good to see you all back. So quickly, let's revise. We're going to revise lessons number 1 and lessons number 2, and then we're going to go on. I've got a very exciting development of some new additional training which we're going to incorporate within the ADSOM training. It's going to just complement the training. It is ADSOM training still, but it's complementary, very exciting, and I'm going to be talking a bit more of that that later after we go through our revision. Okay, so thought I had sunglasses on my head. Anyway, let's recap. No, look, spin doctors, no, you just leave your funny hat on, that's fine. No need for you to put a different cap on. Farmer Brown, hats on, hats off, doesn't really matter. I know the church probably has different different rules on this, but I'm fine whichever you prefer to do. Of course, if there are if you do have men without hats, then of course it may be safe to dance. So anyway, now after we've done our recapping, so let's go on and do our revision of lessons number 1 and lessons number 2. So lesson number 1, of course, we went through looking at the Oliver Stone movie Platoon, the rivalry between Sergeant Barnes, Sergeant Elias. We had Sergeant Barnes with his diabolical, disastrous, indecent behaviour on one hand, and on the other hand you had Sergeant Elias, with his decent, human sort of, supportive behaviour, and of course what we stressed very well, of course, in lesson number 1, and you should have it down by now, you should be getting it down now, boys. Forget Elias, embrace Barnes. Forget Elias, embrace Barnes. So we want you to forget those good traits of Sergeant Elias and embrace the bad traits of Sergeant Barnes. That's if you want to become an ADSOM. If you want to go around embracing Sergeant Elias's traits, well, there's the door. Yeah, it's just in between Mr. Maverick and old 55 up there. And look, plenty of students have decided that being ADSOM's not to them. I haven't refunded any of the fees, but because that's part of me. I'm an ADSOM myself, sort of thing, or have been ADSOM. And of course, as you met last time, probably the most important lesson number 2 we revised. We did the importance of our signature walking, and of course, none of you are probably up to the level I'm at, with my signature walking, but you're getting there, and we've done some practice down the oval, and going along well. But there's a couple of you who are just going to have to persevere with that sort of sizable piece of fruit, sort of clenched between the buttocks to get your walk nailed down, sort of thing. So that was lesson number 2. But the really important thing, almost as important as forget Elias, embrace Barnes, was when the director came into the class and I basically kissed up to him. And Maverick mentioned that I was kissing up to him. I said, well, that's what I do. That's what I do. If you want to be an ADSOM, you kiss up, you kick down. I usually demonstrate it first because that's what the usual reaction is. Anybody you've got under, anybody who's under you, staff under you, kick down. Anybody above you, you kiss up. So that's the number 1 and 2. Got those 3 main points. The points are probably equal importance as forget Elias, embrace Barnes. The second one, of course, is kick down, kiss up. Kick down, kiss up. And number 3, of course, have your signature walk ready, and use it at all times when being an ADSOM. Okay, so that's pretty well revised lessons number 1 and lessons number 2. We'll be going on to some new material, lesson number 4. But the exciting thing that I'm going to announce is here at SUC, we've secured a transfer from another organisation of a world-renowned trainer, and I did have his name written down here somewhere. Oh, yeah. So this will be auxiliary training, and his name is Mr. Richard Pipe. He's very renowned, and he works for and is also a co-founder of a training organisation known as Teachings in Useless, Ridiculous Deeds. So if you go through the letters, the abbreviation is TURD. Again, if you like acronyms, the organisation that Richard hails from is known as TURD. And here at SUC, we're very pleased to secure the services, albeit on a temporary basis, for this training course at least, of Mr. Richard Pipe from TURD. And Richard, okay, Mr. Maverick, okay, you've got your hand up and you're sniggering. I think if you've got it, as I've said before, Mr. Maverick, if you've got something to say, albeit funny or not, intelligent or not, in your case usually not, let's share it with the whole class. Okay. Okay, Mr. Maverick. Okay, so Mr. Maverick has asked, if the students in the class, if they fail the training with Mr. Richard Pipe, are they up the junction? Well, look, when I first saw you, Mr. Maverick, I was of the assumption you're really up the junction. But anyway, let's look at his question. Is up the junction? I mean, look, it's almost a philosophical question. I mean, every rose has its thorn. Does every pipe has its junction? I don't know. It depends which place of the pipe, I guess, really. Yeah, I mean, there's a philosophy course here at SUC you could do to find out that. Anyway, Matt, look, that's enough lip from you for now, mate. Any more lip from you today, and I'll have you sent somewhere, Maverick. And I'll tell you what, it won't be up to Top Gun. I tell you that, it won't be up to Top Gun. Okay, so any more comments on Mr. Richard's Pipe's training? I haven't even told you about what he's going to train you at, and Mr. Maverick's already sort of, asked questions. Anyway, what he'll be basically training you in is, and it's hard to read here, but it'll be ADSOM etiquette at junkets. So things like you're in your workplace, your working way, you're being an ADSOM to your staff, and you'll find you get and you'll get invited to training courses, seminars, going away parties, all sorts of stuff. And what you want to do, of course, at these things is you don't want to let your standards slip. You want to maintain being an ADSOM. So Richard will be coming along. He's a specialist in this. We're very pleased to have him here at SUC because he is an absolute specialist in backstabbery for sure. He's even famous for the phrase that he's even come out and said that sometimes a pat on the back can be a conduit to a backstabbing. Brilliant saying, of course, conduit, of course, sort of all fits in with being Richard Pipe, of course, doesn't it? That you'll find Richard. I think you'll find Richard very informative. Okay. Yes, Father Brand. Yeah, look, I don't mind taking questions from you. You're always very and they're always intelligent and analytical. Okay, so fair enough question. What sort of tips? Yeah, well, I don't want to take away from Richard's training because he'll go into more detail, and as I say, he's an expert. But it'll be things like you go away to a training course, and the trainer's there, and he says, everybody would break it. I know, morning tea 10:30, lunch at 12:30. Well, 10:30 and 12:30 comes. You, and of course, being an ADSOM and wanting to maintain your standards, that's when you start firing with lots of totally useless and ridiculous questions, and just basically just hold everybody there. I mean, it's hilarious for you. It's not hilarious for everybody else. But you know, it's just keeping up the stand of being an ADSOM. What else? You know, things like, you know, well, you just make out that you've got crises. You know, a crisis back at work. You always sort of, oh geez, there's a crisis back at work. You know, on the phone. You know, all this sort of stuff. And you know, meanwhile, you've told everybody back at work you're not contactable for the whole bloody day. But you know, you're making out to everybody there that you're dealing with this crisis back at work. And look, just maintain being a dickhead, really. That's, you know, it's just keep up the standard of being ADSOM. But Richard's a high flyer in that regard, and he's had a lot of experience. Okay, yeah, Tess Affairs, yeah, okay, yeah. No, well, I'm not saying that everything that you attend outside of work would be a junket. No, I'm not saying that. But I had to put something in. I couldn't, to abbreviate the training. So I said, ADSOM etiquette at junkets. Now, being an ADSOM, of course, Tess Affairs, what you're trying to do, you're trying to get yourself on as many junkets as possible to get yourself out of the workplace, away from the work. And as I said before in lesson number 1, what you're trying to do, you're trying to throw your staff, especially the ones you don't like, under a bus. And and the ultimate, of course, is to throw them, get them caught in the concrete and get them run over by a compaction roller. Like what's this? Calvin Klein got run over by Michael Palin's character in Fish Called Wonder. That's your ultimate. So no, I'm not saying everything that you attend outside is going to be a junket, but what you're going to be as an ADSOM, you're going to basically chasing those junkets. It's a badge of honour how many, between ADSOMs, how many junkets you can get yourself on. Yeah, so that's why I put it in there. Yeah, good point, Tess Affairs. Yeah, good feedback, Mr. Maverick. Yeah, you could take a leaf out of the books of Father Brown here and Tess Affairs. Very good, intelligent questions. Okay, so anyway, I'll thanks very much for attending. Yeah, good night, and see you back here for lesson number 4, and Richard Pipe should be here to meet and greet you all, and